Hopefully my power holds this time. It's thundering and lightninging outside. And yesterday we were going to record and then we couldn't because I had no power for 3 hours. So here's hoping things go better today.
Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 80.
80.
I know. It feels like a really weighty number. Like we passed 75, which is, 3/4 of 100. And now we're at 80. But it's only 5 more episodes and it feels much bigger.
I guess I'm just impressed every time now.
Every new episode?
Every time I have to type. Yeah, every time I have to type the episode number, I'm just impressed now.
It is a quite a thing, and it really should drive a sense of pride and accomplishment.
Oh, God.
Well, for our big 80th episode special, because that's a thing that people do, right? We have an entire episode full of the Steam Deck.
Pride and Accomplishment is now the proud owners of 2 Steam Decks.
Yes, our host to Steam Deck ratio is now 1-to-1.
1-to-1. I received my Steam Deck, I don't know, the day the last episode dropped, and immediately started playing with it, just nonstop. Got it out. I sat at my kitchen counter and just played it for 3 hours, and then played it I took it to bed and played that in there for a while, and I tried all sorts of things, and we're going to talk about them all today. And then. So this is kind of when we do the agenda before we actually said yes. And then Chris and I actually traveled together to some locations, and we can talk about 2 Steam Decks in the same place at the same time and how that all worked.
That's true. Yes. We even had the experience of Steam Decks on hotel Wi-Fi, so we can talk about that too.
Yeah, I know it's like we did a full review cycle of them.
Yeah, this was our P&A trip to review the Steam Deck. You know how
Yeah, that's exactly why it happened.
Totally.
Yeah, we're going to expense it all. Okay, so maybe my first impressions, we can start. You had always kind of told me that it was big, right? That it was bigger than a Switch.
Oh, yeah.
And I was kind of worried about that, I guess. But I got it, and I opened it, and I will say the case it comes in, massive. Just huge.
Yeah, but at least it comes with a case.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's very large. It's very thick, and then the case itself is, the Steam Deck is large, so it has to be large. But once I got it out, I will say the size of the Steam Deck, while larger than a Switch, I think is the right size. I think it's perfect for what it is. I'm not saying it's not large. I'm just saying it's the way you hold it, the way it kind of balances, the way everything kind of works, how far away the buttons are, for me, the size of the Steam Deck is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it feels much better than you would expect. It looks really big on a table, but then you hold it in your hands and it's fine.
Yes. I really I never get cramped holding the Steam Deck like I do with the Switch or even some, not well-designed controllers. It's very comfortable to hold. The weight, on the other hand, is a little heavy for my tastes for holding it up. And I think that just goes with the territory. I would say the same is true as probably for an iPad and the Switch. So the Steam Deck is just worse. But you're in my opinion, you're never going to want to be holding the Steam Deck up without any kind of support. But by support, I mean resting your arms on the table, resting your hands on the table, or resting your elbows at your sides while you're laying down. You want something helping you hold it up and keeping it stable, because it is quite heavy.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It does have a weird kind of center of mass to it because it's got kind of these big grips and then the screen, and I guess the battery is behind the screen also. I don't know. I don't think the Switch is too heavy. Like you said, the Switch was heavy to hold. I've done a lot of laying down and playing the Switch while holding it in front of me without my elbows laying down. And I think it's fine. It's much better than the Steam Deck. I actually took my Steam Deck and my Switch somewhere last week, and I had to find the Switch, first of all, because I haven't used it in a while since I got my Steam Deck. But also, man, is the Switch tiny compared to the Steam Deck. Like, I did not remember how small that thing is, even in a case. Like, the Switch in a case almost would like fit underneath the Steam Deck, like outside of its case. It was so much smaller. So I think the Steam Deck is it's big, but to your point, it's not too big. It's big.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that it kind of has against it is as you're kind of laying there, you're putting your elbows down, and I think we both experienced this, right, when we were playing together. You're like, as you're resting stuff, it falls asleep. Your hand falls asleep, your arm falls asleep, your elbow falls asleep, something like, and I find myself just adjusting a little bit, particularly when I'm laying on a bed. I did play it on a plane, perfectly comfortable, just kind of resting. But I just found myself feeling the weight of the device a little bit more than I would otherwise. But it's not a big deal. Anyway, speaking of traveling, I said I took it on a plane. So I did take it on a plane. You took it on a plane. Mm-hmm. We took it to a hotel. And we shared a room. So we got to experience playing it essentially sitting next to each other. Right. So in my opinion, perfect. Just flying colors all around. For me, the biggest concern I had is I had like a 2.5 hour flight, and I know that the battery is like super variable in, depending on what you're playing and how, whatever. It's no problem at all. Nothing. It just flying colors. It like battery management, battery, size, just everything. I didn't have any problems during any of my trips, and that was really nice.
Yeah, I didn't have any trouble either. I did, I think, play plugged in an airport just to top off a little bit before a flight, but then I was able to play the whole flight. And it does depend a lot on what you're playing. So I was playing some 2D games. I was playing Neon Abyss and Vampire Survivors, and both of those are 2D, like pixel art style games, and they would get like, I don't know, 4 hours or more on the Steam Deck, which is plenty for any flight that you're going to take that you don't have like power at your seat to be able to handle that. So that was all good.
I remember one moment when we were in the hotel, we had the charger plugged in to the like the side table between our beds, and you had the charger, and I was like, hey, pass that over, and I charged for a little bit while you were on battery. That worked great. It was like, it's fun going back to kind of those days where you're just like borrowing the charger from someone.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh man, I got to charge my Game Boy.
Yeah.
I have a friend a coworker who calls that buddy breathing when you share a laptop charger when you're in a meeting room and one person has a charger and one person doesn't.
Oh, I like that name. It's like from scuba diving.
Right, exactly.
I've never heard that. I really like that. So we played Risk of Rain. Was that the only game we played together?
No, we played Rocket League too.
Oh, that's right. So we played some Rocket League. We played Risk of Rain 2 together, kind of sitting next to each other on hotel Wi-Fi. And I would say it was good enough. It was fine. I mean, I guess you're kind of evaluating how the Steam Deck works on hotel Wi-Fi at that point. But I would say it was good enough for those kinds of games. Rocket League, there were some lag spikes, but that's to be expected. And Risk of Rain, from what I remember, was perfect from a mobile internet game sort of setting.
Yeah, Risk of Rain 2, we had no trouble with the communications once we had the session and the lobby and everything kind of set up. And maybe we'll talk about like shortcomings or challenges or tweaks we had to make here in a little bit. We can make that its own section. But overall, yeah, Risk of Rain was actually a great experience. And there's something different. I mean, I guess from a top level glance, we were doing the same thing that we do when we play PC games from home on Discord, right? We're talking to each other, playing a game, both looking at our own screens, not really interacting, but it's something is very different about being in the same room and both having this like portable system that we're both kind of working on and using. And you hear people like with no delay, there's no lag of like communication and things like that. I don't know if you noticed anything different about that, but I thought it was pretty neat.
I don't know that I noticed in the moment so much, but like looking back or thinking about the experience, it's so different. It's just so different. You notice nonverbal cues without even looking at the other person. And
that was the thing that was funniest to me. You were like, oh yeah, this is great because I can hear when you push your boost button in Rocket League when you don't tell me. I was like, what? Really?
Yeah. I could hear you coming up. It was almost like a nonverbal cue that I could feel in the room, or just how you were holding it. Like, you just get these things from playing games with people in the room. It's just about being in person. And I don't know that had anything to do with the Steam Deck or being a mobile platform. I think LAN parties and playing PC games in the same room are like extremely valuable and extremely fun. And I remember a lot of that when I was a kid. But it's just the Steam Deck is enabling this, right? We would have never done this. I mean, we've done it with the Switch before, but we really hadn't kept that going. But the Steam Deck is kind of re-enabling that, in-person game sharing experience for us, at least. And that was kind of cool. Rocket League was fine on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, and would you give it anything better than fine as marks?
No, I wouldn't. I would say if I originally learned how to play Rocket League on the Steam Deck, I probably would be better at it on the Steam Deck. But Rocket League is one of those games that any changes in your environment or your controller have, in my opinion, very large impacts on your ability to play. And I think the two things for me was the controller's fine. It's actually really good on the Steam Deck. I like it. I think the buttons are a little mushy and the joysticks are a little maybe too light for my taste, but it's a good controller. It's not bad. It's not the reason I wasn't playing well. The screen is a little small. It's smaller than I'm used to. It's in a different orientation than I'm used to. I have to kind of hold it up, and if I move my hands, it moves the screen. It's just a little different. And because of those things, I'm garbage at Rocket League on the Steam Deck. Not to the point where it's not fun. It's not like we're not going to win. Like, we're going to be ranked lower if we play on the Steam Deck. I would say I had an okay time playing Rocket League, but the differences for me made it frustrating enough where I'm just like, this is not a game that I care to play on the Steam Deck when I have all these other options.
I kind of got the feeling, and maybe it's what you're describing, but I got the feeling of almost like input lag from the Steam Deck and from Rocket League on the Steam Deck, or something. Like, something was like not quite as responsive. I mean, I don't think it was frame rate, because I think I was running at 60 frames, just fine with the Steam Deck hardware, because Rocket League's not that complicated of a game, and I think I had my settings turned down low enough that it was totally fine. But something felt, and I get the same feeling even when I played Rocket League on the PS4 or even PS5, where there's just like a little bit of mushiness to the controls when it's not on the PC, and I don't understand why. Like, I don't really get it, especially because Rocket League is the PC version. I mean, it's running through a translation layer, but like, it should be fine.
Yeah, I don't know that I would call it input lag. I don't know that that's what I experienced, but I agree with you that, and again, I don't know if it's the platform or if it's just that I'm used to it, sitting in a chair playing on an Xbox Elite controller on a PC monitor. But anytime I play on any other platform, Switch, Steam Deck, I've played on a PlayStation before, it's just not the same. And I just don't prefer it. So I agree with you in one sense. In the other sense, I don't think it's input lag, but I can't really put my finger on it.
I actually found myself not enjoying, and you mentioned this too, the mushiness of the buttons. Like in Rocket League especially, the buttons felt a little bit weird compared to the standard Xbox controller, which is what I usually play with. And I'm assuming also the Elite controller that you play with. I found that the buttons on the Steam Deck, something about like the B button specifically, almost felt like it was going to get stuck down as you pressed it while you were holding it to boost. And so I was always a little nervous that was going to happen. It never did. But something about like the looseness of the buttons, or like the difference in tolerances of the buttons compared to the Xbox controller, kind of gave me that impression that something was going to happen and I was going to be like stuck boosting everywhere.
I'm sure you would have run out of boost well before that.
Yeah, probably.
I will say, on a slightly different note, hotel Wi-Fi is not good enough to play Xbox Cloud streaming games on the Steam Deck. I attempted to play Forza, and that lasted about 45 seconds. In my house, however, Forza was an excellent experience on the Steam Deck. excellent. There was a tiny bit of input lag, but it was not enough for me to care unless I was getting super competitive. And I'm not usually when I'm playing Forza, right? It's good enough. But I actually played the new Forza Hot Wheels expansion for the first time on my Steam Deck because I forgot it came out the day that I got my Steam Deck. And I booted it up and I started playing and it was great. I loved it. It was a lot of I actually played it for like 2 hours on my Steam Deck, not on my computer. So I would say that was generally a good experience if you're sitting in a place with a good Wi-Fi connection and a good internet connection. That was really, really nice. And it's not good enough for really anything. Even turn-based stuff. The input lag was really bad in the hotel. On the order of like a second. So I don't know if it would have helped if I would have paid, because you got the free tier and then you got the upgraded tier. I don't know if it would have helped because, while download speeds are infected, I don't know that your ping gets any better.
Probably not.
When you pay for that upgraded service. I've never paid for it, so I don't really know, but I don't think so. It was a little surprising how bad it was. I was expecting it to be worse, but not that bad.
Did you try doing any of the stuff that I guess you did. You must have. I was going to say, did you try doing any of the desktop mode stuff? But you would have had to get the game streaming stuff working.
I did, and it was an okay experience. I didn't actually plug in a keyboard. I only plugged in a mouse.
Oh, wow.
And by plugged in, I mean Bluetooth connected a mouse. So I had to use the on-screen keyboard a lot, and that was not a great experience.
No, I did not enjoy anything I ever had to do with the on-screen keyboard.
But it wasn't bad. It was cool to have it, and I could see that when you plug in or when you kind of play like that. I think if I ever like set up a mouse and keyboard and monitor, I would just stay in desktop mode. I think that's probably what I would do instead of like go back into game mode and have everything rearrange. I'd probably just stay in desktop mode unless there was a significant like performance hit. Because I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. I thought it was cool to see all of that. The mouse, before I plugged in a mouse, the mouse using the trackpad actually worked well enough. It was fine. The biggest challenge I had was like window management with the on-screen keyboard. So that would have gone away if I would have used a Bluetooth keyboard. But I don't know. It was cool. I was happy to see a desktop available.
Yeah, I use desktop mode. I was always surprised that like it seemed like the whole Steam Deck has to reboot to switch between Steam mode and desktop mode, which makes it take longer than I think it should. Like it's not just like big picture mode on your computer where you just kind of click the X and you're back on the desktop. It's like it boots into a whole nother thing. And I'm sure that has something to do with like power efficiency and, only running the Steam games that Steam controls all at once. And so that you don't end up with background stuff running or something. But it's a little bit frustrating, or not frustrating. It's just annoying to have to, fully reboot your Steam Deck, which takes, a minute or two to go between. Not like terrible, but still longer than you'd want it to. So I was surprised at that.
Okay. So you had said this before I got mine, and I was like, wow, that's really like, that's kind of annoying. And then I did it. It does not take a minute or two.
Really?
For me, it was like maybe 15 seconds.
I'm going to have to try this again.
And it does reboot. I'll give you this. It totally does reboot. But like from the point at which I say go into desktop mode to having a desktop in front of me is between 15 and 30 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
And then going back is similar. Yes, it reboots, but it didn't take like nearly as long as you made it sound. So I didn't have any problem with it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I will try it with an actual stopwatch and see how we do.
Yeah. But as everyone knows, especially me and you, my patience is much higher.
Oh, that's true. I will also say that I just tried it, and the total time from when I clicked the button to when I was in desktop mode was 10 seconds. So I was exaggerating quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good that you have to switch modes. I agree. And I'm actually not sure, since you have yours in front of you, do you want to try opening a window on desktop mode and then leaving desktop mode and then coming back? Is that window still open?
I don't know. Give me a couple minutes. I switched back to Steam mode, and now that's taking longer than it took to get to desktop mode. So it's like 10 seconds to desktop and something like 30 seconds to get back into Steam.
Interesting that the one way is slower.
Okay, so I can confirm it does close all of your desktop mode apps when you switch into Steam mode or gaming mode, whatever.
Okay, so it really is doing some kind of restart there then.
Yeah, now if you launch Steam itself, which you can do from the desktop mode, then that's, fine. But if you switch back to gaming mode, it closes all your windows of your desktop mode stuff.
The one thing that I learned when I was in desktop mode that I would say is like super important for using the Steam Deck across everything is those keybinds, right? The Steam X to open the on-screen keyboard, the holding the Steam button while moving your finger across the trackpad will force it into using a mouse no matter like what you're doing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
As if you're actually using the mouse. So we're going to talk about Risk of Rain here in a second. This is not something we knew while playing Risk of Rain, and that's on us for not knowing it. But yeah, you can always force it into like use a mouse mode by holding the Steam button and moving your finger across the trackpad. There's a lot of these like hotkeys that are built into the Steam Deck that like if you're doing anything, like you should really know these. And there is an easy way to get to them. I think you push the Steam Deck and you click, there's one of the question marks or something will show you all of the keybinds, but they're super helpful. And I wish I would have known more of them earlier.
Yeah, you actually just have to click and hold the Steam button and just hold it down. And after like 3 seconds, it shows you a list of hotkeys.
Yeah, super helpful in both desktop and just in games. Because some of the games are better than others.
Yeah, real quick, because I don't have anywhere else that really fits to talk about it. You were talking about streaming Forza with Xbox game streaming. One thing that I did when I was at a LAN party and I brought my Steam Deck that I mentioned a couple episodes ago, I was playing Sea of Thieves and I wanted to play... I was curious to see if I could play with the mouse and keyboard, and you cannot, when you're doing Xbox game streaming, play without a controller. Like everything has to be... like for Xbox game streaming, you are playing an Xbox, which means you're playing with a controller. So I found that to be interesting. And that also, ties over into the Steam Deck as well. So like, even if you hook up a mouse to your Steam Deck, you will still be playing with a controller exclusively. Like it doesn't switch back and forth like it does on PC.
Can you play with can you play with like an Xbox controller?
Yes, I did do that. So I Bluetoothed my Xbox controller to my Steam Deck, and that does work.
So Sea of Thieves won't let you play with a mouse and keyboard when you're playing
via streaming
in Xbox Cloud streaming.
Correct.
Wow, that's almost disappointing.
Yes, it is a little disappointing because if you expect to be able to bring your Steam Deck and just hook it up to a monitor and use a keyboard and mouse, which you can do in a bunch of Steam games, but you can't do in your Xbox streaming stuff, which, when you think about it, it makes sense because when you're streaming from Xbox, then you are getting essentially a video in a web page, and the web page is just full screen with no browser like Chrome around it. And I mean Chrome in terms of buttons, not Chrome in terms of the browser. So it makes sense that like they would have to transmit all of your like mouse and keyboard stuff and like what happens if your mouse runs out of the window and all this stuff that kind of games have to deal with anyway. I kind of understand, but also it is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, mostly because like you can use a mouse and keyboard on an Xbox. You just plug in USB mouse and keyboard and they work. I will do some real-time follow-up right now. I did search this on Google as soon as you said it, and there is an article June 22nd, 2022 that says they are adding support for mouse and keyboard to Xbox Cloud streaming.
Okay, cool.
But, I mean, it still stands. It doesn't work right now, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you were hoping to, play, I don't know, something that needs a mouse on streaming on your Steam Deck, you can't do that.
Speaking of Sea of Thieves, real quick, sidebar. Trailer, wow, oh my gosh. We'll put it in the show notes, I guess. It's going to be, I don't know. I'm really excited about it. I didn't even play the game. But it's from when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago and they did the super cool trailer. This is like the actual like trailer now, like the actual like here's what's actually happening trailer, not just the teaser. Oh god, okay, it's everything. Yeah, all right, fine. All right.
I wanted to sidebar about Sea of Thieves 2. I just didn't know when in the show to do it, but I guess we're here now, so here we go.
Just so good.
Sea of Thieves is season 7, comes out on August 4th, I believe it is. So I think the day that this episode will drop, you will be able to go play the new Sea of Thieves season. And it is the captaincy update where you get to be a captain and name your ship and save loadouts and load loadouts and do a whole bunch of convenience, quality of life stuff. It actually looks like they have taken almost every complaint about Sea of Thieves for the past like 5 years and been like, yeah, okay, so we'll fix that. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead and fix that one too. And while we're at it, well, why don't we make it so that you can, turn in all the stuff on your ship in like 3 seconds to this one place instead of having to run all over every single island to turn in treasure. Like it's great.
They took every complaint that I've ever had about the game and they've made it into a single update that they made sound like these things are like revolutionary. They've done a really good like marketing job on like not saying that these were ever bad things, but like, oh, look at these cool things you could do now. One of the coolest things that I'm noticing that they didn't really talk about, but you could kind of notice by watching the trailer is there are so many more gold sinks now.
Yes, I've noticed that in every one of these updates because you have to buy your ship to be able to name it, and you have to buy your ship to make it, not have bullet holes in it anymore, and like you have to pay to get, stock your ship so you don't have to run around the island and gather supplies. Yes, there are a lot more gold sinks.
You have to pay gold to like save your ship configuration and decoration. Like you can always do it for free, right? Just apply your skins, but now to save it, you have to pay gold. And there's obviously way too much gold in the economy. Not that you can trade it, not that it's really an economy, but there was no way to spend it. And now there is. There's more ways now.
I hope this actually, what it leads to in Sea of Thieves is it leads to more things being more valuable. Like, because the base level chests that you get from like a mission or something, you might get 5 or 6 of the same kind of, I forget what they call them, seafarer's chests. And those might be worth like 273 gold, right? And it costs, I don't know, 5,000 gold to repair your ship or something like that, or whatever. So you're like, ooh, is my one mission that gives me, 5 of these 250 gold chests, like, that's not really worth, as much as I expected. But I'm wondering now if maybe it's less of a gold sink thing and more of just an ability for them to kind of inflate some of the numbers and make things worth more. Like maybe they'll do some economy balancing. Because then, I mean, to your point, you can't trade, there's no auction house or anything like that. Like having 10 million gold doesn't do you anything other than makes a big number show up on your screen. So I'm hoping maybe that they might take some of those like really, really piddly small value treasures and make them a little bit more lucrative and kind of worth your while. Is this update enough to make Jason try to play Sea of Thieves again?
If you guys play like in 2 days, when I'm with you.
Excellent. I am really looking forward to it. It looks like it's got a lot of good updates. I am actually a little bit bummed. I'm going to be traveling for the next like week and a half, and so I will bring my Steam Deck with me, but it won't be the same. Like I'll be doing the Xbox streaming thing, I think, if I'm playing at all. So maybe we'll get a chance.
Okay, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
I did want to bring up a couple of things that were not quite like perfect about the Steam Deck, because there are a few rough edges, I would say. And it's not that there's like it's unplayable or anything like that, but there definitely are some things where you understand that this is like a first generation piece of hardware and it's something, and like not every game is optimized for it and everything else. So I did want to kind of go over a few of those things while we're talking about the Steam Deck.
Let's do it.
The first one was actually kind of hilarious because Jason and I, as we mentioned, were playing Risk of Rain 2, and Jason couldn't read any of the text in the game.
I totally forgot about this until you brought it up. Like I like totally forgot. But yeah, no, like everything was like, I almost want to describe it as like it looked like writing you would see in The Sims or something.
Okay.
Like it was just like jumbled, like you could tell that maybe they were letters kind of, but it was not. It was almost like they were purposely blurred.
Yeah, you hadn't unlocked the be able to read the text option. It's a true roguelite.
I guess.
You have to play 10 games before you get to read the text.
I couldn't read how much money I was picking up. I couldn't read any of the text in any of the dialogues. I couldn't read the names of the characters. I couldn't read. I mean, I couldn't, nothing. Like, all of the text was blurred. None of the game was. The game looked fine. It was just the text.
Yeah, so we went on like that for like, I don't know, 45 minutes because that was how long it took us to play one round. And then finally between rounds, we were like, we got to look this up because there's no way that that's supposed to happen. And we Googled it, and turns out there was some little setting on the Steam Deck that you set. I think it was on the Steam Deck, not on the game, right?
Yeah, it was a Steam Deck. It was some power saving option, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was one of the power altering saving options that was causing text to be blurry in this one specific game. And I don't know if it was like reducing the amount of pixels it had to compute and doing half of them or something like that. But it was, as soon as I turned it off, immediately, I didn't have to restart the game or anything. The pixels, the text just popped right in.
And I would say that that's one of the things that's kind of the most common challenge on the Steam Deck is that it gives you all of these little like tweaks that you can make to all of the power saving settings. And if you want to think of it in terms of like regular PC gaming, what you're doing there is essentially setting things in your like NVIDIA or AMD control panel for your GPU. Like you're setting driver settings almost. Like the game doesn't know anything about what you're applying to these limitations. So like there's a frame limiter, so you can say only go up to 30 frames a second, which would be independent of any VSync settings or frame rate settings that you have in the game. Like there's all these kinds of things where, yeah, all this, like Jason was talking about, trilinear subsampling or whatever. I don't know all the words, but the things where you have all these little graphics card choices and they can cause drastic changes to the way that the Steam Deck makes rendering happen. And that's not the game developer's fault. It's really just something that's just a quirk of the hardware.
Yeah, and I don't want this to scare anyone away, like by thinking like, oh, I'm not smart enough to play on a Steam Deck. I was most certainly in the advanced options. Like there's a drop down that says, set my own options. And I was tinkering around with stuff and I just forgot that I'd turned that on. But, you can very easily like just stay away from those and just, use the top 3 options at the top and not get into the advanced stuff and just let it do its thing. And you can stay away from it. So I would say, don't let it scare you, but at the same time, it does give you all of the options, and sometimes they require some Googling to figure out what the heck you did wrong.
The nice thing is the internet is a big place, and chances are somebody else has already done this, had an issue with it, and either contacted the developer or sent out questions to the internet, and the internet has responded. So it's pretty easy to Google for stuff.
Oh, yeah. We found the exact problem with the exact game with the exact solution within, 15 seconds as soon as we Googled it?
Yes. So do not fear. It is very playable, very doable. You can set it up. It's no problem. The other kind of major thing that I wanted to bring up was something that's not exactly, a rendering bug or anything like that. It's more just the nature of the Steam Deck and the games that you get and play on it. So the Steam Deck, of course, runs any Steam games, and all of them have this little like icon in the Steam Deck where they show you kind of how likely the game is to work with the Steam Deck. And a lot of games have this little green check mark, which is great. Some of them have this little yellow exclamation point, and some of them have this like gray dotted circle. Typically, anything with a green is supposed to work, no problem. The yellow exclamation point is like, yeah, the game runs fine, but it might not show you the right button prompts. It might show you keyboard shortcuts instead of like press X or A or whatever. And that's usually workable. But sometimes there are just things that are so difficult to manage and work with. If you have a game that is designed for a keyboard and mouse and it doesn't realize that you're playing on a 7-inch touchscreen, and you want to use the touchscreen as the mouse because you don't know how to get to the software mouse that Jason so cleverly mentioned earlier. And that was Risk of Rain for us. Like getting into a lobby was almost impossible for me. Like I could not figure out how to invite Jason to save my life.
Yeah, and surprisingly, Risk of Rain was a green check mark. So I I don't know what happened there. But yeah, no, some of it definitely, you expect these games to have like full controller support, and sometimes that's just not true. And you don't really realize it when you don't have a mouse and keyboard in front of you. Like, because if we ever fail with like using the mouse and keyboard, like in Sea of Thieves, I do this all the time. I don't know how to get to the different cannonball types that you're holding in your inventory with a controller. So you know what I do? I reach up and I press the 4 key 3 times or 2 times or whatever to cycle through my special cannonballs, because it's just right in front of me. It's so easy. But when you're playing on a 7-inch screen with no mouse and no keyboard, you really have to figure out how to do it. And luckily you do have a touchscreen, and I got these big sausage fingers trying to push in this tiny little box on the top right hand corner to add someone to the party. Like, it's tough. It's not, that was not maybe a perfect experience. I think now that we know about some of the keybinds, it will be easier, but like some of these games are right on the edge of being frustrating. Particularly in the menu system.
Yeah, it's usually something in the menus, not really the gameplay as much, unless it's a game that is entirely menus, and then good luck.
I will say, I wish, back to the kind of like the green check mark and the yellow, Risk of Rain had a green check mark, so it really didn't kind of warn you that some of the text was small and some of the buttons were small, and maybe the controller support wasn't perfect. But what I wish is there are lots of different problems that like Steam has identified for games that are not perfect for Steam Deck, with the yellow exclamation mark instead of the green check mark. I wish I could tell Steam which ones I cared about, because there are some where it's just like no controller support. It works, but there's no controller support. And I was like, well, I'm definitely not playing that then. But some of the warnings are like, oh, the text might be tiny on some of the screens. And I'm just like, that's okay. I'm okay with that. But as far as I can tell, there's no way to filter the games based on what the problem is, only like what the high level result was. Is it ready? Is there a warning, or is it not compatible at all? I want a little bit finer tuned filtering capabilities.
I'm not sure if it has what you're looking for, but have you seen the website protondb.com?
I have. I have. And that is a little better, but it's not in the Steam UI.
That's true. It is not in the Steam UI. But it does have different reviews that people leave, and they say, like, does it work or not? And like, what are any sort of challenges that you have with it? So I don't think I'm looking at it right now for Risk of Rain specifically, and it doesn't seem to have much in the way of like filtering for difficult to read text. But it does have a lot of reviews and things about this kind of problem.
Oh man, The Witcher 3 is platinum. Oh god, I gotta play The Witcher 3. Platinum meaning like it works, but Steam hasn't verified it.
Yeah, there's a lot of games work on the Steam Deck, and it's kind of amazing. I haven't tried to play anything that's like full 3D like that yet. Like I haven't tried to play, any third-person action games or anything like that, other than really Rocket League, which is doesn't really count. But I've played a lot of the kind of 2D pixel art kinds of games, and Risk of Rain, I guess. But like story-driven narrative games, like I haven't played, Elden Ring, which I'm probably never going to play anyway. But those kinds of games, people talk about Arkham Asylum and stuff. I don't know. Have you tried any of those kind of bigger games on the Steam Deck?
Not downloaded from Steam, no.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like in awe from this website. Anyway, I'm gonna have to scroll this more later.
Did you have any trouble in your travels, especially on the airplane, with trying to launch a game and having it like time out?
No, I did not. I will say I went into airplane mode immediately, like and it knew it was offline.
Interesting, because I have tried that. I have tried to set it so like I'd launch a game and it would spin forever because it would try to do a Steam Cloud Sync, and of course it didn't work because I wasn't online. Then I would try to go into the Steam menu and turn on airplane mode, and it would not change anything in the UI to tell me that I was in airplane mode. And then I would try again and it would work. But then the UI never told me that I was in airplane mode. So when I was done, I didn't have the button said enter offline mode. I guess I'm talking about offline mode, not airplane mode, but enter offline mode. And I was already in offline mode. So I had to like restart the whole Steam Deck to get it to correctly identify the state of the offline mode or not offline mode of my Steam Deck.
Yeah, no, I didn't go into offline mode. I turned on airplane mode.
Interesting. Maybe I'll just try that.
So I don't know if it did that automatically or whatever. But as soon as I disconnected my Steam Deck from the airport Wi-Fi, it went right into airplane mode. We hadn't even taken off yet, but it went right into airplane mode, and I didn't have any problems.
Good. So aside from the games we talked about, Risk of Rain 2 and Rocket League, have you played anything else kind of natively on the Steam Deck?
Oh yeah, good question. I have played a little bit of Enter the Gungeon, but I would say I need to spend some time tweaking the controls for that game because it does have controller support, but it's not. I would say the buttons are not what I expect them to be. So I need to get in there, and it probably needs one more button than what the Steam Deck has, or what a controller has. And I really am not comfortable enough with the back triggers yet. So I need to do some tweaking with the controls, and I just didn't care to do the tweaking yet. I've also played a couple hours of Stardew Valley, and I started a brand new game in Stardew Valley. I played this actually on the plane for a couple hours. And Stardew Valley experience was excellent. Loved it. Stardew Valley is not a really difficult game, but the battery life was great while playing Stardew Valley. Everything worked exactly as I expected. I had a really good time playing that.
Nice. Yeah, I was wondering if Stardew Valley had the mouse problem, like if it had full controller support or not.
It does. I would say I would prefer a mouse in some situations, particularly when inventory managing. And I think we've talked about this where it's got that grid style inventory management, and they've solved the problem, right? You can highlight things by moving the box around on your inventory and pressing A and, jump, whatever. You can do it, but drag and drop inventory is way easier with a mouse. And I would prefer it that way, but I wouldn't say, like, after maybe 20 minutes or so, you just kind of get over it and you get used to it.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that they have controller support because I was playing something and it had the kind of the weird mouse support, and it was a little bit strange to play on it works, but on the trackpads, it's a little challenging sometimes.
You still can't play Destiny, and I'm not sure that I would ever want to, but I want to play Destiny.
I don't think you'll ever be able to play Destiny 2 on the Steam Deck because the anti-cheat doesn't work. I guess ever is a long time, but...
Not yet. Not yet.
I haven't heard anything lately about them running Windows on a Steam Deck. Like, I think that's going to be the next giant step for Steam Deck, is being able to install Windows on it like easily, because it's like you can do it now, but it's not really supported and the drivers aren't quite there, but they're kind of there, but it's not great experience wise. And I really just want there to be like a button in the Steam settings menu that says like enter your Windows product key here and we will install Windows for you on your Steam Deck.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll ever get that far. I will try Windows on the Steam Deck when I can dual boot it. The fact that you have to install and overwrite whatever's there, and you can't dual boot, even if it's, you have to shut it down and turn it back off, just like a Mac used to be. I would be willing to try it. I am overall kind of exactly where I thought I would be on the Steam Deck. I have had the urge to play it even when I'm at home, kind of getting into bed or thinking about what I'm going to do to fall asleep. Which is way more than I can say for the Switch. And I have loved the fact that I have not purchased a single game yet, and I have access to hundreds, right? Just the ones that are Steam Deck verified in my library was well over 100 games. And that's not even counting the ones that now Proton DB says that are verified or playable, that are in my library, right? We are both over 600 games in our Steam library now, and it has been exactly as I imagined, having access to that game library and a mobile device that can play them.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing piece of hardware and experience to it. And I know that the Steam Deck's not the first one, but it is the first one that's kind of made it very, very accessible to the community. And obviously it's, made by Valve and they make Steam. And so they have a lot of kind of incentive and a lot of kind of motivation to get you in the Steam ecosystem and to never leave, which is fair. I'm contemplating as I'm looking at ProtonDB now at whether I buy Sea of Thieves a second time, because then I can run it natively on my Steam Deck. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to resist. Not going to do it. But yes, the Steam Deck is a really cool piece of hardware. I am not disappointed that I've got the first iteration of it. I look forward to the second or third iteration of it with, better processors and new designs and all the stuff that I'm sure that they're going to work on in 5 years. But yes, it's a great experience and it's a really fun travel device and a not travel device. I do find myself laying down on the couch to play on the Steam Deck more than I would necessarily sit in front of my computer and play something. So that's also a big plus. I was playing some Hades the other day, which I played a lot of on the Switch. Now I'm playing it on the Steam Deck because the screen's a little bigger, the controller's a little bigger. I have enjoyed it a little bit more on the Steam Deck. So it's overall, I would say we're Steam Deck is 2 thumbs up from the PNA podcast.
2 thumbs up. Maybe 4 thumbs up now.
Oh yeah, that's true. We do have 4 thumbs.
Because we both have one. In any case, let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if you want us to test any games or try. And let us know if you have one. I would love to hear some other people that have one and what they think. So you can join our Discord by going to discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you'd like to read our show notes or find any of our older episodes or drop us an email, you can do that at our website, which is pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying the show, we would love if you could share it with some others that may enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. So we don't usually manage to hit the timing perfectly like this, but today, while we're recording, is the day that Humble Choice, the monthly Humble Bundle subscription, comes out. And for, I think, the second or third month in a row, I'm actually quite excited about some of the choices. And this is really proving that their shift from monthly games where you get a dozen games to a more curated list is really paying off. And I think that's a big positive for them.
Wait, hold on. Tea in the game. Before you go any further, I want you to go back and find the episode where I called it.
Yes, you did. You did call it. Jason was right.
You were so skeptical, and I was just like, no, they only have to do 6 games now, or maybe 8 games instead of filling a full catalog, and it's gonna make them better. And I was right. I don't get to say that very often, so I'm claiming it here.
All right. You heard it here. Jason was right.
Anyway, what are you excited about? Tell me.
This month, we have a couple of good games. The first one, kind of the headliner, is The Ascent, which is a game that was actually on Game Pass for a while. And I don't know if it maybe still is. It may have gone away. But we played it a little bit when it was brand new, almost like early access on Game Pass. And it was a little rough around the edges. But we got a group together, and it was kind of fun.
A little?
I don't remember it that well.
It was more than a little rough around the edges.
The takeaway that I remember is that the group that we were playing with, we said, we'll wait for the first big patch and come back to this. And then we never did.
We never did. I would say it's probably worth returning to. And now that it's on Steam and we have Steam Decks.
Yeah, no, this is a perfect Steam Deck game, I think, because it's kind of like a isometric 3D kind of game. It seems like it would fit nicely on kind of that smaller screen of the Steam Deck. It always felt a little bit overused, too big almost on my big gaming monitor for what it was trying to draw, So I'm hoping that
it's a twin stick, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's a twin stick or close to it.
And it's the interesting part about it was it's a story game. There's a story.
That's right. Yes, there was an attempt at a story through the bugs.
Right. I don't know if it's any good, but
yeah, we'll have to give it another shot. But the thing that really piqued my interest was the second game on the list, which is Hot Wheels Unleashed. And I sent Jason a text earlier, and he was a little skeptical on the utility of this one, but I am actually really excited about Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Okay, so I played a Hot Wheels game when I was really young on the computer that was like kind of like a Hot Wheels racing game. And then Hot Wheels Unleashed has actually been talked about a lot since the Hot Wheels Forza expansion.
Oh.
So I've heard about this game, but everyone always talks about it in like such good light. It came out like last year, right? 1 year ago?
No, I think it came out like 6 months ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a quick Humble Bundle. Everything I've heard sounds great. I have no idea if this game is any good.
So I just looked it up, real-time follow-up. It came out on September 30th, 2021. So you're right, almost a year.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know. It sounds cool, I guess. I don't even know, like, is it a racing game? I assume it's a racing game.
It is a racing game, and it's like an online racing game, and like there's more, I guess it's more about the races than something like Forza. So I watched a couple people, like I found them on Twitch, like it just showed up as like a recommendation, and I watched them for like 20 minutes and was like, oh, this game looks neat. And that was a while ago. And I was like, ooh, maybe on the next Steam sale I should pick it up. And I did not pick it up on the Steam sale, and here we are. It's coming on Humble. So now I have it. I actually have it right now already installing onto my Steam Deck to see how that works. It is Steam Deck verified, just in case anyone was wondering. And those are the two major games that are on the Humble Monthly this month, or Humble Choice this month, that I think are really good or look really good. There's also Emily is Away, which is a game that came out a long time ago, but it's like a story, like a really story game that's kind of very nostalgic for the early 2000s and computing. So it's kind of styled and themed around like AOL Instant Messenger and like early Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So I'm interested to try that. It's like a little RPG. It's been around for a while and people really like it. So the tagline is, it's 2008 and AIM is dead.
Wait, is it AIM or AIM?
Well, AIM is what I always used to say, but I just read it as AIM because I feel like that's kind of where culture landed on it was AIM. But I think I always said AIM. AIM. Did I? I don't know.
Okay, so this is actually Emily is Away 3, just so you know.
Oh.
I know it's a heart. It's Emily is Away, greater sign, heart. Less than sign, whatever. But there's Emily is Away is free. So if anyone's interested in going to play, that's good. And then Emily is Away 2, TOO, is the second one. And then Emily is Away heart symbol is the third one. So this is actually the third one.
Okay, I guess I didn't realize that. I thought this was the first one, so I'll have to go check that out.
The first one's free, so just go get it. And of course, because every Humble Monthly needs this, last month we had Lawn Mowing Simulator. This month we have Gas Station Simulator.
You know, this is oddly topical for us because very early episodes of P&A included many references to gas stations. So maybe we have to do like a stream or an episode of this just for like the history and the tie-in to P&A.
I have bad news that it is not multiplayer.
No.
If it was multiplayer, I would totally play with you.
We would have to. I mean, it would basically be required.
But I don't think I can do it single player.
No, I don't actually think I could do it either. We'll try Power Wash Simulator instead.